check this out. This was the first time since 1979 we didn't have a 1 seed make the Elite Eight. Princeton, a 15 seed, lasted longer than every single 1 seed. Think about that. Well, here's something I think deserves more recognition than even FAU making it to the Final Four. When you hear the term and think of March Madness, what do you immediately think of? Upsets, and crazy ones at that. So with that being said, I'm not going to sit up here and go, oh, this year's March Madness has been crazy because of all the upsets. No, we see that every single season. Last time I checked, there is always, and let me repeat this, there's always upsets in March Madness. So with the way everything's unfolded the past couple of weeks, and it's been some of the best basketball I've ever watched, we shouldn't be too shocked. Or should we? Because when you actually take a look at this year's March Madness, it's one of the craziest of all time. And here's the kicker about that. It's not even over. We've just made it to the Final Four. But it's what has led up to this Final Four that has already turned this year's March Madness into history. And it's also leading a lot of people to believe that parity in the sport of college basketball, it's at an all-time high. Most people are starting to believe this, and I've seen them say it, that these mid-majors out here, they are just as good as the Blue Bloods. Now, yes, of course, maybe not historically speaking, but as of recent, you got a fair argument. We've got a lot to talk about in today's video. As always, if you're new to the channel or simply not subscribed, consider joining our amazing community. We're on the road to 270,000 subscribers. We're right at it. All right, Matt, blah, blah, subscribe up. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. This is an interesting video because it's really pick your poison. Where do you want to start with this? I know most people are going to point out the obvious. Hey, Arizona, a 2 seed, they lost to a 15 seed in Princeton. And by the way, Princeton, that same team, they went farther than a lot of other teams we're going to talk about in just a second. I digress. I think the biggest thing that most people are going to bring up when you mention 2023 March Madness is Fairleigh Dickinson beating Purdue with Zach Edey. It's the definition of David beating Goliath. Fairleigh Dickinson was the smallest, or one of the smallest, teams in the entire NCAA, and they beat a team that had a guy who's like 7'6". It's a Cinderella upset, and even looking back on it, I cannot believe that Purdue somehow, somebody lost that game. Even with their guards playing that bad. Let me put it this way. I don't think some of y'all understand how poorly your guards have to play to lose that game. It was that bad, and it's also a main reason I had Purdue either losing in the second round. I believe I did, but I didn't have them going far even if I had them winning that second round game, because their guard play, not just in that game, but the entire season has been bad. What hasn't been bad, it's been mediocre at best. It's been wishy-washy. It's been concerning, and I stated this when I was filling out my bracket. Go check out that video. But I said if Purdue did not have Zach Edey, I'm not even sold on the fact that they would have made March Madness. That game alone took the cake, and it's what everybody's going to remember, but let's take a look at what happened after it. The round of 32, there's not too much to talk about because nothing really chaotic went on, but in the Sweet 16, this is where things really start to get more interesting. We had not one, but two 1 seeds go down. Alabama, they lost in a close one to San Diego State, and Houston got blown out by Miami. I wouldn't consider one of those games major upsets, but the fact that 2 number 1 seeds lost to a 4 and 5 seed, yeah, putting that together, it is a big deal. Nobody saw that coming. I don't think anybody thought Alabama and Houston were both going to lose. Houston was looking good. They had Marcus Sasser coming back, but Miami, they was like, nah, we don't care. We don't want any of that. We're winning this game, and it's not going to be close. But my biggest takeaway from the Sweet 16 was FAU beat Tennessee, and Tennessee was coming off of a dominating win against Duke. Make no mistakes about it, a lot of people had Duke making it to the Final Four because they was a hot team. And then Tennessee, who's not even playing that good of ball, they lost their starting point guard. They beat Duke by double digits. So I was pretty confident that Tennessee was going to bully FAU, and that was not the case. FAU snuck out that game. And then we got to talk about this. Arkansas, they're hot. They just beat the 1 seed. They beat Kansas, and they get blown out by UConn 88-65. Speaking of UConn, we'll talk about them in just a second. And last but not least, we had the game. I called it. I said, man, you got to watch this game. The Zags and UCLA, I don't know what it is with these two teams, but it's always a good one. And Gonzaga, they pulled it out with that pretty much logo Steph Curry 3 to win the game. I got to give it to the Zags. They tried blowing it. They did. UCLA even took the lead and took a game-winning 3, but man, oh man, that was a good game. And now that leads us into the Elite Eight, where Creighton and San Diego State, they battled to the end. There was a late call where some people thought it wasn't a foul. Me personally, I thought it was a foul. He pushed him. San Diego State, they win the game 57-56. Really good game, but then another upset. What do you know? FAU beats Kansas State, one of the hottest teams in the country, and I think they were the fan favorites. It is very odd for a 3 seed to be the fan favorite over the 9 seed, but that was the situation on hand because everybody was loving Kansas State. The point guard, he was averaging like 15 assists per game, and they had that whole little baby song going on. Everybody was wanting Kansas State to win that game. And then we had Miami and Texas. That was a good game, but not really an upset, not too much to talk about there. Miami won the game. They come back from 15 points down, and here we go with UConn. They blow out Drew Tibbert. I know it's Drew Timmy, but I call him Drew Tibbert. They blow him out 82-54. Wasn't even a game. And well, would you look at that? In the Final Four, we got the 5th seed, San Diego State, the 9 seed, FAU, 5 seed, 5th seed, Miami, and the 4 seed, UConn. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say I don't think too many people predicted this Final Four. I'm going to give you a quick refresher. Last year in the Final Four, who did we have? Villanova, the Dukies, North Carolina, and Kansas, right? Yeah, we had the Blue Bloods. Last year was a definition of a Blue Blood Final Four. This year, we got 3 teams who have never been to the Final Four. We got the Young Bloods. Was that corny? I don't know. I didn't want to be corny. I'm being serious. I don't know what else you would call it. We got the Young Bloods. Miami, never been to a Final Four. FAU, never been to a Final Four. And San Diego State, never been to a Final Four. But whoa. Check this out. This was the first time since 1979 we didn't have a 1 seed make the Elite 8. And matter of fact, check this out. Here's a fun fact for you. A 15 seed lasted longer than every number 1 seed. Princeton, a 15 seed, lasted longer than every single 1 seed. Think about that. Well, here's something I think deserves more recognition than even FAU making it to the Final Four. In UConn's 4 games, they have won by 24 points, 15 points, 23 points, and 28 points. UConn is beating the living crap out of really good and really solid teams. And the reason for that is fairly simple. Number 1, they're a matchup nightmare. Number 2, they're outstanding on defense. And number 3, they can score. They can do it all. They can win a defensive game or they can win an offensive game, but they like to play up tempo. Going back to these matchups though, San Diego State and FAU, whoever wins that game, it is still going to look weird to see either San Diego State or FAU in the championship game, and I mean that respectfully. They're good teams, obviously, they've proved that, but nobody saw this coming. And on the other side of the bracket, I think most people are going, yep, UConn are looking too good. There's no way the Canes stand a chance. And if I know anything about March Madness, I know that couldn't be anything farther from the truth. It's March Madness for a reason. There's a reason a 9 seed is in the Final Four. Anybody can win any game. This year's March Madness has been chaotic to say the least, but when you take a deep look into things, it also goes to prove and show that this has been one of, if not the craziest March Madnesses of all time. I just have a hard time believing you're going to see something like this happen again. 3 teams that have never made it to the Final Four make it in 1 season. And to go on top of that, we didn't even have a 1 seed make the Elite 8. And now that I think about it, here's something we need to talk about. FAU has a dang good shot to win it all. FAU's only got to win 2 games, and in both of those games, the highest seed you're going to play is a 4 seed. And as much as I think the UConn game and Miami game is going to be good, I got UConn winning that one. I don't think there's too much to say there. UConn, I do think they're too powerful. But the matchup I'm looking forward to the most, man, is that San Diego State defense, which is amazing against that FAU offense. And trust me, I saw the comments on the video where me, an Alabama fan, was reacting to San Diego State beating Alabama. Everybody was talking about, oh, Matt, you didn't give San Diego State's defense credit. And it wasn't that I was trying to disrespect San Diego's defense. It was more of, I just felt like Alabama played terrible on offense, and I was blaming us. And I agree with you guys. Yes, I should have mentioned and brought up, hey, San Diego's defense, they played amazing, and they did. They've played amazing all throughout the season. To me, in the Final Four, that's the matchup to look forward to the most. San Diego State's defense and FAU's offense. If I had to take a guess at this moment in time, I'm taking San Diego State to beat FAU, and I'm also taking UConn to beat Miami. And in the finals with UConn and San Diego State, I'm taking UConn. I understand defense, you can count on it, but UConn, they're hitting their strides. I did want to speak on this because I know we got some March Madness fans out there. Let me know your thoughts down below, but roll with me.